All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today we got Carolina and Fort Worth. A lot of people try to say that doing a complaint goes nowhere. There's no point doing a complaint. But when cops overstep and they quite don't know the law or know your rights, they're usually quick to violate them. And you need to hold them accountable. So in today's video, we're going to be featuring Carolina and Fort Worth. Go to her channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. And let her know that BZ Watchdog sent you if you haven't already subscribed. And we're going to go ahead and get into a First Amendment audit that she did at a Specs liquor store. And the follow-up that I did, talking to the officer, going in and confronting the officer, going and doing records requests, being denied records requests, and what ended up ultimately resulting from the internal affairs complaint that I helped her submit. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Got company already. How's it going? No, I'm good. I'm just doing my job.
Okay, cool.
It must be cold in there. You got a jacket on.
Yeah, my only request, though, if you're going to be recording the outside of the buildings, if you maintain on public property, right? So right now you're in line with our...
I'm on public property.
Say what?
I'm on public property.
Oh, okay.
So when do you guys close?
The black arrows are the Specs property line. Carolina was actually standing where the blue arrow is, off their property, whether it be public or someone else's private property. She was not on the Specs property.
When do you guys close?
We close at 9.
So do you make bank deposits in the morning or at night? Do you make bank deposits in the morning or at night?
Oh, I'm not going to share the information on our bank deposits.
Well, I'm supposed to ask that. And do you have like a safe in there?
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay. All right. That's
So,
cool.
now that you're asking those questions, who do you work for?
Oh, I work for, I'm just doing a job that I'm supposed to do for somebody. Somebody's paying me to do this, so I just have to see how many people are going in, when's the time when you don't have a lot of people in there, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, I know that there's that light pole right there that you say, but I also have this pole, which I know is on Specs property, because we own that pole as well.
Okay, well.
I can't lie!
That's not true. That's a lie.
No.
You are a liar!
No, I'm not! He's lying! You lie! Liar!
Lies. Oh, lies!
Okay, Michael, you think just because you tell somebody you own something on a public right-of-way that they're just going to instantly take your word for it because you get butthurt? Why don't you shoo and go back inside and be useless inside your business?
Okay, well, actually, the easement comes from the center of the street.
Yeah.
And you're right on the line, so I'm about right. So.
Okay.
You know?
Well,
so you're going to argue over 2 or 3 feet. That's pretty. Come on.
Well, I'm not arguing. I'm just putting my point of view out there as well.
Well, my point of view is don't be a crybaby over 2 or 3 feet.
Oh, okay.
That's my point of view.
Okay.
So go inside and cry.
I'll appreciate it.
Oh, Beverly Hills Police. Already. 12 minutes and 12 seconds. $12 minutes, 34 seconds. There's Queen of Crybaby. You crybaby. Here he is, blocking the roadway with his ghost car. $13 minutes and 36 seconds.
Ma'am. My name is Lieutenant Steiner. I'm with the Beverly Hills Police Department.
Lieutenant, huh?
Yes, ma'am. So do you have an ID or anything with you?
You on drugs?
They're like little crackheads. Yeah, they got crazy eyes and they're all scratchy.
With you?
They're like, I need.
No? Okay. So I'm going to need to get your name and date of birth. So this is what's going to happen. So I talked with them. I guess they were alarmed by some questions that you asked them or whatnot, but they do want to have you criminally trespass from their property. Right now where you're at is considered the easement for the city or whatnot, so I could care less if you stay out here and record. They've said...
I'm sorry, Stephen. I didn't hear that. Can you say that again? Because I could have just sworn you just told her she was on the public right-of-way and that she was okay standing there recording where she was from. Any escalation from this or any demand of ID or criminal trespass or any kind of threats of arrest at this point, wouldn't that be considered a crime under 39.03 official oppression under the color of law? But wait a second. We're going to get into that a little bit more, kids, with this investigation. And keep in mind, Stephen, let me hear you say that one more time about her being on the public right-of-way and that it's okay to record.
Right now where you're at is considered the easement for the city or whatnot, so I could care less if you stay out here and record. They've said the same thing, but at any point in time, if you cross back onto their property, the parking lot, basically the furthest point from where this sign is at, back that way, belongs to them.
Yeah.
So, but if you step back on the property, then we could have other issues violated in criminal trespass. But I do have to issue that criminal trespass. So I'm going to need your name and date of birth.
So, are you familiar with Statute 3802?
I'm not going to get into the statute.
3802 says that the only way you can get my name is if I'm legally arrested.
Okay.
So I'm not being legally arrested.
So
okay.
Right now you're being issued.
Okay, are you going to talk over me? All right, talk over me.
See, Carolina is right at this point. Texas 3802, failure to identify. A person commits an offense if he, and I should say or she, intentionally refuses to give his or her name, residence, address, or date of birth to a peace officer who has lawfully arrested the person and requested the information. This other part of the statute just talks about giving false or fictitious name, driving a motor vehicle, and such and such. But subsection A here, 3802A, a person commits an offense if he intentionally refuses to give his name, residence, address, or date of birth to a peace officer who has lawfully arrested the person and requested the information. Now, here's the thing. The officer already asked for ID and she refused. So he knew he had no lawful grounds to demand her ID. That's why he asked. Now he's demanding her ID for a criminal trespass warning that does not require an ID for a criminal trespass warning. Anybody can issue a warning. It doesn't have to be a law enforcement officer. It could be Michael from Specs saying, don't come back on my property. Okay, bottom line is, that's it. Whether it's logged or not, it's whether you as a citizen freely give up your information or fall for these tricks. However, this guy just committed a crime when he demanded it under threat of arrest, but we'll get into that.
So the only time I have to give my name is if I'm being arrested in Texas, 3802, statutes 3802. And because a criminal trespass, because I didn't step on their property criminally, I can't be issued a criminal trespass.
You can't be issued a criminal trespass.
No, because I didn't step on their property.
From what the gentleman said, you were over there on the property.
So he said you can't be on this property. I said I'm not on the property. I'm on the easement. So if I step onto the property, then yeah, you can criminally trespass me. But right now, you can't get my name.
You were already on the property.
And they asked me to leave. He said I'm on the property and you need to leave. I stepped back 1 foot. Now I'm not on the property. I did what they said. Get off their property. It's the property he thought was his, but it's not because I'm standing right now on utility. This is a utility, so that belongs to you.
We've already discussed that.
So you said where I am, all right, and I was aligned with this the whole time. See the blue thing right there? That blue thing? So
when you crossed, you were on their parking lot.
And he came out
when I pulled in.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were.
No, I wasn't.
When I pulled in, you were at the sign. You walked across.
No, that's not true.
That is.
That's not true. That's a lie.
You are a liar.
No, I'm not. He's lying. You lie. Liar.
Lies. Oh, lies!
You sit on a throne of lies.
That's a lie.
Liar!
He's a liar. The demon is a liar.
A liar? That lying bitch! Liar!
That was a lie, pal. He's a liar.
You fucking liar.
He's lying. Knew you were lying.
You're just a liar.
You're lying, snake. You're a liar.
You lied to grand juries. You've been lying to me. I'm gonna charge you with
Put it on
perjury.
video.
Okay, I'm not worried.
I have it on video. But
So-
if you're not worried about it, then you're not worried about it. I
I
did
need
not.
to issue the criminal trespass.
Okay, the only way you can do that is if you arrest me.
I don't have to arrest you.
Yes.
So, okay.
The only way I
You don't
can
want to
give
give me your
I'm
name,
not gonna
so
give you
this
name.
is what I'm going to explain to you.
Okay.
You're criminally trespassed from the property.
Okay.
Okay? If they have video or anything of you on the property, you will be arrested. Do you understand?
If they have video, but after
If
they told me to leave.
Right now, you're being told you are no longer allowed to come back.
Yes,
on the
I'm being
property.
told. So if they have
Okay.
any video of me doing that,
If you come back on the property,
if I come
past
back on the
this point,
property, then you
right
can criminally
now,
trespass me.
you will be arrested, not criminally trespassed.
Okay.
You've already been criminally
Okay, so if I
trespassed.
walk past this line, I'll be arrested. Okay, then you can get my name.
Okay. You understand that, correct?
Yep. So I won't step past this line.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
And you thought that was it, right? Should have been done. End of story, not trespassing. But wait, he's going over here to conspire, and he's getting ready to double down like most cops do. Here it comes.
And he's going to leave first. There you go, guys. He's going first.
Hello again. Hi. So just to introduce myself again, my name is Michael. I'm the general manager here.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had a conversation right over there.
Yeah, you told me that I was on your property, and I stepped back 2 feet. Sure did.
So really, it was just the contest of whether or not this portion is going to be on public easement or where that might be.
Do you see the blue thing? You see all those?
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. But
So I'm not
really
going to get on
didn't
your
cause me
property.
concern.
I'm not going to get on your property. If the 2 feet bothers you that bad, so be it. But I'm not stepping on your property.
What did cause concern is some of the questions that you had followed up with.
So my boss told me to ask those questions, so I did.
Yeah, I don't know your boss
Okay.
or whatever intent or whatever you have, but asking security questions like that, if you can kind of see how that might cause some alarm.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I would like to criminally trespass you from the area.
If I step back on the property, then you can do that.
Okay. Well, so here's what I'm going to explain to you in front of him, so the manager knows, because I've already explained it. Anything that's on the concrete of theirs, it's their property. This is the criminal trespass. He's already explained to you he doesn't want you back on the property.
Yeah.
I'm explaining to you you are not allowed back on the property.
Okay, that's great.
It is a verbal criminal trespass. No, I can't identify you right now, but if he has video of you on this property, if I see you, you will be arrested.
That was before.
Well, I'm explaining to you
Okay.
now.
Yeah, so I did from this moment on.
So from this moment on,
If you see
do
me
not
on the
step
property,
step
then you
onto their
can
property.
arrest me.
Understand?
Yep.
There's a couple things I want to note too. I did have some conversation with the city of Waco when I moved here in 2019.
Is
about
this the
public
city of Waco?
easements. This is the city of Beverly Hills. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure a lot
City
of
of Beverly Hills.
City of Beverly Hills. So I know you're standing on the water meter that is owned by the city.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so especially also on my property, the water meter is owned by the city, but still an easement that I'm responsible for as a resident. So
And I'm also able to stand on it as a public forum. So here I am.
So here's the thing. I could be responsible for that as well because it could be on the property.
And you're supposed to allow me to have my public forum, and that's what I'm doing.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if you're worried about the 2 feet, don't worry. I'm not going to step 2 feet to where you are.
Okay.
So go back inside, do your job, and just forget about me being out here.
Unfortunately,
So what he's getting at is
yeah.
like if the water meter's damaged, just step off the water meter, and at that point, we can
What I'm
clear
also getting at is just because the water meter's here doesn't mean it's
So you're
also
still being a
part of the easement.
crybaby. Okay.
I'd love to have a conversation with you, like a
Yeah.
civil one,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
back and forth.
But you're too busy
questions and
crying.
answers.
You're too busy being a crybaby.
But there's a
So
lot of interjection going on. And the point of that is, like I said, just because you're on the meter doesn't mean it's part of the public easement. That is, like I said, just because you're on the meter doesn't mean it's part of the public easement. That is, like I said, just because you're on the meter doesn't mean it's part of the public easement.
Actually, Michael, it does, because according to this plat that I pulled from the city of Waco, which you claim you talked to, and they said you own that water meter, which is not accurate. According to the city plat here, the utility lines, the water meter, are all part of the public easement. Again, Michael, you got it wrong. You're lying, or you're just plain out dumb and listening to this cop trying to conspire to get this woman's information. Now, keep in mind, Michael, when I called you on the phone, you didn't want to comment about the situation, which tells me that when I recorded this phone call, you lied to me, or you're lying to Carolina, or the cop got you to lie. Either way, you have no first-hand knowledge of what an easement is, what the right-of-way is, and you're not a law enforcement, and you're no lawyer. So with that being said, Michael, just don't go away mad. Just go away.
Now they're going to try to find out where the public easement is. Specs general manager. They think that this driveway is their property, and it's not.
Again, Carolina is right. The driveway is not their property. All she's got to do is not impede the flow of traffic from the main driveway onto their property. So for these schmucks to literally think that they own the driveway and to get these cops to enforce feelings is outright ridiculous. But anyways, guys, who am I to judge? You guys leave a few comments down below. Let me know exactly what you think should have transpired or is going the way we all anticipate cops do it every single time.
Here they come.
But he's good. I love this dude. Yeah, he's real.
You're real chill.
Awesome. I didn't mean to ruin your video.
No, you're good.
Yeah, he's real legal.
You're good. Okay, so where's the easement at?
At this point in time, I do need your information because through the McLean County Cash, standing on the water meter is his property. So you were still on the property while I was making contact.
But you don't have it.
It doesn't matter. So at this point in time, I do need your identification.
Okay, but at this point in time, okay,
Are you going to refuse, yes or no?
I have to ask you a question.
I'm not answering questions. I'm telling you. I looked at McLean County CAD because you said that I said I'm going to figure out where the property line is. Okay. Yeah. I've already checked. Where you were standing when I was originally talking to you, you were still on the property. So I need your driver's license, ID.
I'm going to give it to you, but I have to. I'm getting clarification.
What?
My clarification is you told me that if I go past that line, then I'm going to be arrested. Now you're changing it.
Yep.
So you're two-faced.
Like I said, I didn't know where.
So under threat of arrest, I will give you my ID. Okay, can you hear?
Yep.
This is Espanol. One in Spanish.
I need your ID.
Okay, I don't have it, but I'll tell you I'll tell you my information.
So he's
being a crybaby. You're on his property. You need to get on your own property. Get on your own property.
Okay. What's your name?
Caroline Rodriguez. Under threat of
name.
arrest. The first letter is a C. The second letter is an A. The third letter is an R. OLYN.
Last name?
Rodriguez. Do you need help with that too?
Yep. Spell it.
R is the first letter. C is the last letter. O is the second letter. D.
Okay, I'm not playing games.
Rodriguez. RODRIGUEZ. Am I still detained?
Yes.
For what?
Because right now I got to issue the criminal trespass to you. You're going to get a written notice of the criminal trespass. So yeah, you're not free to leave.
You lied to me. You're a liar.
No, I'm not.
You told me if I went past that line. We were determining what the line was first.
I told you I didn't know where the line was.
So we had to determine the line, right?
So I determined the line.
And then you cheated. Then you cheated. And then you said, yes, you did. Yes, you did. You cheated. I'm going to sue you. I'm suing you. Oh, I have a lawyer for that. Liar. He's a liar. Go back in, crybaby. Go back in, crybaby.
Again, here we go. You think it's done, right? He runs her, he writes her a criminal trespass warning, and then the audit is over, right? No harm, no foul, other than her rights are violated. Well, no. Lieutenant Steven Steiner decides to take it a step further. He's going to go ahead and follow Carolina and stalk her all the way to her car and retaliate after all this. This is insane. So after talking to Carolina, I figured, you know what? Maybe she was in the wrong. Maybe the officer was in the wrong. I figured I would go and play devil's advocate. So I went ahead and investigated myself. This is the footage I took from Specs Liquor after looking at the plats and basically determining where the property line was. As you can see, I'm pointing out here where the plats are, where she was standing, and getting the full imagery and footage of where she was standing. And of course, I can see where the cuts are in the concrete on the plat where it says it's all a public easement, where the bus stop is at, where people have the right to sit down, the water meter she was standing on, which you saw at the plats earlier in this video, where the water meter is actually part of the public easement. You can see I'm staying right on the property line to show that she was well within her rights. She wasn't doing anything unlawful to warrant any kind of demand for her ID. And I mean, look at this. I've already done all the homework. And speaking of which, there goes a Waco police officer right there, which this is technically Beverly Hills, which is a small pocket of Waco, Texas. As you see from all my live streams, I've actually been going around and recording the police because they're pretty dirty out there. They play dirty and they officially oppress people. But if you look, I'm pointing to where the property line is, goes all the way back there. It doesn't go straight down the road like Michael was claiming. It actually goes up, as you saw on the previous plats. But we're going to get into that. There's a phone call that happens between me and Lieutenant Steven Steiner. And there's also an encounter where I run into him at the police station. But we're going to get into that. I'm going to play a little bit here so you can hear what I'm saying in this video. And with that being said, let's get back into this investigation.
The property line, and I'm walking along I'm on the property line right now. This is all city property that I'm walking on. Okay, so it curves right there and comes up to right here, so right where I'm standing, and then it goes along this aspect of the property line. So I'm not on the Specs property, but you can see where the property line is. Property line goes right here, and then it curves over that way. So this is according to the plat on the business with the county records. So this is all property line right here that I'm walking. So I'm gonna go see if this business is open, see if they have any comment.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't catch your name. What was that?
BZ.
BZ. All right, Mr. BZ. My name is Lieutenant Steiner. I'm with the Beverly Hills Police Department. I was given an email to give you a call.
Yes, sir. I had a few questions. I'm with the organization that handles press and activism. There was an incident that occurred yesterday at the Specs liquor store out there in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the incident out there that happened with that officer that was out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I really like to possibly talk to that person's supervisor. I'm guessing since you're the lieutenant on duty, that would probably be you that I need to talk to.
Full disclosure.
And the reason I asked that, sir, is as a supervisor, are you familiar with Texas Penal Code 38.02, failure to identify, and how the criminal trespass of 30.05 applies? Only when person said refuses to leave or enters back on after given verbal warning from the owner. Because this officer in this video that I have obtained committed a Texas Penal Code of criminal oppression, but under color of law threatened somebody with for their driver's license or identity to be issued when there has been no crime, technically, when they haven't been lawfully arrested for 3802. This is a crime that an officer could be charged with for a year.
Okay, Mr. B.
Yes, sir.
So full disclosure, that way you know who you're actually talking to.
I know you're the officer. I just wanted to keep you on the line to make you aware of the criminal charges that will be filed with your department with the chief on Monday, and the federal civil lawsuit I'm going to help this person bring to you personally and to the city of Beverly Hills. So I'm just putting you on notice. That was the reason for the call, sir. That was why I was wanting to get you on the phone. A, to make you aware that you screwed up. 2, that I will be following through with a complaint, a criminal complaint, and a federal civil lawsuit. So that's why I'm glad I got you on the phone, sir. And this isn't a threat. I'm an activist. I do go around and help people like this when officers overstep. And with 9 years on the department, I believe it's 9 years in August that you had your peace officer certification, you should know better, sir. You really should. And if you don't know the law, you shouldn't wear that shiny tin badge.
You're more than welcome to file that complaint.
Oh, I know I'm going to be welcome to file it. Are you going to be welcome to the deposition I'm going to have you in where I get to question you?
Well, whenever that happens, I'll address it when that happens.
So are you going to lie like you did to the person? Are you going to lie? Are you going to lie in the deposition like you did on that person? Oh, what's the matter? Why are you running? Why are you running, sir?
There's the guy we're investigating right there, Steven Steiner, taking out the trash. So we're going to see what we can see from here. As you can see.
Beverly Hills Police Department. I heard
Hey.
you needed to speak with me.
Yes, sir. My name is Chuck Bronson. I'm following up on 2 leads about an incident that directly involved. I saw the video. You were on the video.
Okay. If it's regarding that incident, I can't talk to you about that incident.
Why not? It's not criminal. It's not criminal.
I
There's no
understand.
criminal investigation.
Chief of Police is dealing with all that stuff with complaints and everything. It has to deal with me. I'm not allowed.
So let me ask you this question. Since I drove all the way down, because I drove 2 hours to come down here to speak to you. Is there currently an internal investigation going on why you can't speak about it?
I can't speak about it.
Okay. I do know I've tried to reach out to Chief Corey Martin several times. He always seems to be out or doesn't want to return calls.
So the chief administrative assistant, his assistant is Roxanne. If you want to set up a schedule with her to speak with him, he only does it by appointment.
Okay. So are you guys about transparency and accountability here at this department?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But that's like I said, I can't talk to you about the incident. You'll have to talk with the chief about it.
Did you notify the chief yourself about the incident, or did someone call in and file a complaint?
I'm not going to talk about the incident.
Okay. So what can you talk about? Anything involving the incident? Nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
Okay. Can you talk about the law?
If this is about the incident, I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay. So if I ask you about a generic law in general?
I'm not going to discuss any of that stuff.
So in other words, no comment?
No comment.
Okay. So you're just going to invoke your 5th?
If that's
I will take that as an admission of guilt. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's
right,
it.
It was nice meeting you. You have a good rest of the day.
Yes, sir. You keep going on and no commenting and violating people's rights. Thank you very much, sir. I will need the body camera footage for him.
Let me get you a separate form.
Okay, thank you. For him? Okay, thank you. Okay, here we are at the city of Beverly Hills. I'm just now leaving the city hall. It's very small. It's a small lobby. I did speak to Lieutenant Steven Steiner briefly. He says there's no comment, that the chief is investigating this, but yet I can't get the chief to call me back. I can't get the chief on the phone. And it's crazy enough that this is in 1 week that I've called for this chief. He's out sick again, or out for the day. He's not here. Seems like he just doesn't come to work, but he still collects a check. So I'm going to be doing a records request for his timesheets. Make sure he's not stealing money from the city of Beverly Hills, because obviously he's never here. He doesn't answer his call. He doesn't do any kind of work for the PD other than just claiming he's the chief. So we're going to go ahead and see what we're going on. And we can see right here, they're looking out the windows. So they're right there. I see the lieutenant. He's probably trying to see what car I'm getting into. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, here at City of Beverly Hills, they are not transparent. They don't hold any accountability. We're going to pull these records to see what's up and kind of go from there. So here's the internal affairs complaint that I typed up for Carolina that she submitted. It says, subject, Internal Affairs complaint against Lieutenant Steven Steiner. Dear Internal Affairs Division, I, Carolyn Rodriguez, formally submit this complaint regarding the misconduct of Lieutenant Christopher Steven Steiner of the Beverly Hills Department, arising from an incident occurring near Specs on Valley Mills Road on April 18, 2025. Summary of incident: on April 18, 2025, I was standing on public property near Specs performing a lawful activity protected by the First Amendment. During this encounter, Lieutenant Steven Steiner approached me, initially acknowledging that I was on a public easement and within my rights to be there. However, after my lawful refusal to identify myself as permitted under Texas Penal Code 3802, Lieutenant Steiner conspired with Michael, the general manager of Specs, to manufacture grounds for a criminal trespass to force my identification, violating my civil rights. Violations committed. The first is the Fourth Amendment violation. Lieutenant Steiner unlawfully detained me and forced my identification under threat of arrest, despite the absence of reasonable suspicion or probable cause. This action directly contravenes clearly established constitutional protections outlined in Brown v. Texas, 1979. Police cannot detain or require identification without reasonable suspicion. Terry v. Ohio, 1968, requires reasonable suspicion for investigative detentions. Florida versus JL, which you guys have heard me recite most recently, in 2000, uncorroborated allegations do not establish enough for reasonable suspicion. 2. Unlawful enforcement of Texas Penal Code 38.02. Lieutenant Steiner attempted to compel identification without lawful arrest in direct conflict with Davidson versus City of Stafford, a Fifth Circuit 2017 case, establishes that 3802 subsection A cannot justify arrest without prior lawful grounds. Saucedo versus Lopez, also out of the Fifth Circuit in 2023, which was just less than 2 years ago, clearly stating refusal to identify is not criminal unless lawfully arrested. Now, it comes down to number 3, the misapplication of a criminal trespass law. Lieutenant Steiner falsely claimed I was trespassing on Speck's property despite video evidence clearly establishing I remained on public property throughout our interaction. And of course, I showed you guys the plat where she was standing and whatnot, so we all know this is true. This action violates precedent set by Brant Anthony Allen versus State of Texas, Texas Appeal 2003, emphasizing the requirement of actual notice prior to establishing trespass. And in Bader versus State, Texas Appeal Court case in 2000, requiring evidence of greater possessory rights to sustain a trespass allegation. 4. Official oppression. This is the one I've been trying to get cops charged with for the last 6 or 7 months. Official oppression is Texas Penal Code 39.03 and conspiracy, Title 18, USC 242 and 241. Lieutenant Steiner, in conspiracy with Michael from Specs, knowingly manufactured false probable cause, violating her 4th, her 1st, and her 14th Amendments. This gross misconduct constitutes official oppression and federal violations of civil rights. So, supporting evidence, she has video recordings confirming the location of the incident and demonstrating Lieutenant Steiner's initial acknowledgement by lawful position, transcript of conversation clearly showing Michael's confusion regarding property boundaries, later exploited by Lieutenant Steiner, evidence of Lieutenant Steiner's explicit threat of arrest solely to force compliance, again, to always force compliance, with unlawful identification demands. Requested actions. She demands a thorough investigation into Lieutenant Christopher Steiner's actions. Okay, I think his name is Christopher Steiner. I thought it was Steven Steiner, but it's Christopher, I believe. She requested immediate disciplinary action against Lieutenant Steiner, consistent with departmental guidelines, referral for criminal investigation under Texas Penal Code 39.03, official oppression, which is what I've been trying to do for the last 7 months to bring change to cops abusing their authority. But wait for it, kids. I've got more after this. Measures ensuring training and education of officers regarding constitutional rights and law enforcement of Texas statutes. This incident highlights severe deficiencies in departmental oversight and has compromised public trust in Beverly Hills Police Department's integrity. Thank you for your immediate attention and resolution of this serious matter. Respectively submitted, Carolyn Rodriguez. Now, I wrote this, and I've got some news for you, but I just wanted to read the investigation because I did a records request, and this is the response I got based on this internal affairs investigation and her threat of suing the police department. All right, so this is the response they sent to the Attorney General because of the records requests, requesting the body cam footage, the 911 call, the incident sheet, everything pertaining to Carolina's experience at the Specs liquor store. So they went ahead and sent this up. Now it's trying to say that it's under this 552.103 exception litigation code, meaning because she mentioned the word lawsuit and that she was going to sue them, they can actually withhold records to the statute of limitations, which is a bullshit thing that they can do. So I guess it falls under this, the government code of 552.107, exception certain legal matters. Information is accepted from the requirements of section 552.021 if, one, it is information that the Attorney General or an attorney of a political subdivision is prohibited from disclosing because of a duty to the client under the Texas Rules of Evidence or the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct. So that's one reason they're given to the Attorney General. Then other here, under 552.108, under the subsection B, an internal record or notation of a law enforcement agency or prosecutor that is maintained for internal use in matters relating to law enforcement or prosecution is accepted from the requirements of section 552.021. 1. Release of the internal record or notation would interfere with law enforcement or prosecution. That means that there's got to be some law enforcement investigation going on for prosecution reasons to withhold it based on this. 2. The internal record or notation relates to law enforcement only in relation to an investigation that did not result in conviction or deferred adjudication. So that, I think they're talking about Carolina. But anyways, this right here kind of goes into subsection 552.021. And then here we got the letter to the Attorney General. So the letter here states, Honorable Ken Paxton. Honorable my ass. What it states here is that in regards to open records request regarding an incident of criminal trespass warning involving Lieutenant Steiner on or about April 18, 2025 at 1434 South Valley Mills Drive, Waco, Texas 76711, we are notifying you of exemptions to consider regarding this incident. 2 years withholding to any party requesting open records of this incident due to open documented threats of lawsuit. Of course, this is Carolina's thumbnail. Told her not to say about suing anybody or do anything, but again, she jumped the gun. She put that in here. It said that she would be so easy to sue them, and here you'll see it right here on the screen, or they've got it highlighted on the exact reason. They obviously know what they're doing to try to stonewall our records in any way they possibly can. So here it says this is a copy and pasted segment attached to the video. See highlighted section, which I just read off to you. Down to section C, it says, let it be known that furthermore, the complainant in this case has 4,106 views to date, has a total of 98,400 plus followers, and claims to be employed by someone to create these interactions. It is evident that she will have a large number of people who she can elicit to collect information to circumvent discovery, and she has clearly stated that a lawsuit is coming, and that small claims court would be so easy. So it goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, don't mention the word a lawsuit or they'll hit you with this, and it's probably going to fly with the Attorney General based on the way the Attorney General wrote the Public Information Act. I don't agree with it, but again, you gotta play the game with the rules that you're dealt and try to fight fire with fire when you can. 2, a signed formal complaint was provided. That's the one I read to y'all. Provided regarding this incident, along with multiple third-party emails, phone calls, and web complaints. In the signed complaint, criminal offenses were cited by the citizen. A. PC 39.03. That's the penal code, by the way, PC guys. Penal code 3903, official oppression. And then federal Title 18 USC 242, 241 conspiracy. Based on these specific complaints of criminal offenses, a discussion for investigation was agreed upon by the department and the Texas Rangers. I've also coordinated with an outside agency regarding an internal affairs investigation into policy infractions brought about by the complainant. This will only start once a determination is provided by the Texas Rangers. So what they're saying is that basically my internal affairs complaint that I wrote up for Carolina based on what I saw and using transcripts and everything I used, my knowledge of the law, that I've had to go research and learn myself, has literally launched an investigation of this lieutenant with the Texas Rangers and conducting a third-party internal affairs investigation. So in summary, this is what they wrote me, or wrote her technically. Well, actually, no, they wrote me this letter because it was regarding my records request. In summary, thank you for your consideration and review of this matter. I hope that you find I provided significant evidence of pending litigation in small claims court with a state of limitation of 2 years, blah, 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 blah. The various availability for the original complaint to circumvent discovery, which is a purpose via social media release and following. I believe that this is the purpose of 552.103 exemption litigation. Also, there are 2 pending investigations. One is a look into the criminal complaint of official oppression by the Texas Rangers, which is what I've been trying to do. So there we go. Bingo, that's a step in the right direction. Now they just got to charge them. And the second is an outside agency who I don't know who they are. Internal investigation of policy infraction at the request of a signed complaint. Hopefully Waco PD or McLean County Sheriff's Department, but they're all dirty anyways. These 2 investigations would qualify for internal records of a law enforcement agency, and the release would likely hinder the outside agency's investigations, to which there is no current result in conviction or deferred adjudication. So there you guys go. This is what happens when you follow up, you go and do things, and you stir the pot a little bit. You actually get things done. Now, we are not done. We still got to wait for the outcome of these investigations, so I'm going to try to do a follow-up later on down the road. Again, this is my investigation of making the phone calls, writing the complaints, following up, doing records requests. I encourage everybody to always make sure that if you complain about something or if you have a compliment, take the time and do it, whether it be in writing or via phone. Things don't get done unless the public massively makes phone calls and people write letters. So with that being said, we're going to get back into the rest of this video and conclude my investigation for now. I'll give you a follow-up later, but here we go. And kind of go from there. So, BZ Watchdog.
BZ Watchdog.